You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how we doing tonight?
Doing good. Coming to everybody on a Wednesday this week, right? A little different. So the JOB got in the way of two of the three of us yesterday, and then poor Alex is still stuck in training. So we had to excuse him for the week. But no, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be hanging out with you and talking a bit of fantasy football, man. How you been?
No complaints. I've got got things rocking and rolling. We're starting to kind of gear up here towards the things starting to happen here, right? Like we've had some pretty good news around the free agency over the last couple of weeks. We've certainly gotten some the draft process doesn't seem to be quite as rampant this year as it has in years past, right? Like news still coming out, but doesn't necessarily seem like it's coming out as quickly or not quite the rumor mill. It seems to be as much of a buzz this year as it has in years past. But, a lot of that I think has to do with the fact that this year's quarterback class, maybe not as high end as we've seen in years past. And that seems to be the one of the biggest drivers of the draft talk is what teams are doing at that quarterback position and who's going to be getting themselves a franchise quarterback and all of that good stuff. And, not near the intrigue this year with how that's going to play out as what we saw play out, last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we heard a lot of rumblings over the last week, about Shedeur possibly climbing back up the rankings and going 3 to the Giants, and then the Giants turn around and sign Russell Wilson.
And Jameis.
And Jameis, right? So, I mean, sure doesn't seem like Shedeur is going to be their answer. But, it is what it is. So we're patiently awaiting. So we have a month until the draft. So that's exciting. We'll be doing our annual first round coverage and kind of going through everything here together. So that's always fun and exciting. A good evening to spend here with the boys. So be sure to set your clocks and calendars so that way y'all can tune in with us as we break down the first round as it happens live.
Absolutely. Always a good time, always a fun night on that one. And here leading up to it, we're going to start breaking down and getting into our mock drafts and drafting it a few different ways and having some fun with that over the next couple of shows. So, make sure that y'all are tuning into that because that'll be a blast as well. I did see kind of an interesting, some interesting rumors come out there that the Browns, apparently, if they're are looking to try and trade out of the number 2, but if they're planning on staying, that sounds like they're planning on taking the defensive end out of Penn State, Abdullah, on that one. So, we're starting to see some of these things play out, and who knows if that's some gamesmanship at play there, or if that's really what they're planning on doing.
Right. If it is, that'd be a wicked combo, right? With him and Myles Garrett. Obviously, they just locked Garrett up to a long-term deal, but the AFC North is brutal, right? We've seen that. The Steelers just always find a way to be a thorn in everybody's side. The Ravens are, kind of the class of the division here at the moment, if you will. And the Bengals, I mean, if the Bengals could find a way to win games in September, they would be very dangerous come January. They just keep getting off to a slow start. So it's definitely a murderer's row type division and has been here for the last couple of years. So we'll see how it goes. But to slow down, Lamar Jackson and to slow down Joe Burrow and kind of whoever Pittsburgh's going to end up behind center in general, like you got to be getting after the quarterback. So Carter's not a bad pick if the Browns are truthful about this. And if they're just stirring up dust, then so be it. We'll find out in a month.
Right. Yeah, that is and this is really where a lot of that smoke show starts coming out there. So It'll be very interesting to see how that one plays out. We do have Jamie chiming in saying, "Sup, dude, it's been a minute." It has been a minute, Jamie. Welcome back in.
What's going on, my man?
Yeah, Jamie keeps it real with his Browns here, saying that the
The
Browns are
Browns are
stinky.
stinky. Y'all were super exciting with Jameis, though. Like, I was sad to see him go. Like, Jameis Winston is like must see football. Like him and Baker Mayfield. If the two of them went head to head every single game, what an entertaining season that would be.
Right. So yeah, very interesting to see what they're gonna do and see what their plans are there. Scott says depends if the league is PPR, half, or standard. Okay,
I'm not following that one.
I'm not either, but I'm just smiling and nodding. So Scott, if we can get a little more details on what that's about, that'd be awesome.
It's like he's listening to last week's show and then commenting on this week's show.
So I mean, we did talk a lot about the leagues and the commissioner side of things. Jamie saying, I thought Winston and Neighbors was going to be like playing Madden on rookie mode. That was going to be like amazing. I was thoroughly excited to see that, and now I've got to deal with Russell Wilson in that mix. Not as excited.
I mean, maybe JMO outplays Russ in camp.
One can hope.
I don't understand what the infatuation with Russell Wilson is anymore. Like, he can't get the ball downfield. He just captain check down. I get it. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, but he takes a ton of sacks now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gotta be frustrated in today's NFL to just, 3-and-out field goal and try and keep it close until the fourth quarter. And then, well, we let Russ cook. It's like, well, he had 3.5 quarters to figure it out. Like, he's a professional. He should still find a way to win one drive.
Right.
But it's not exciting football anymore. And there's definitely players that I feel like probably deserve a better shot. Like, the craziest thing is how no one's gone after Jake Browning. Like, I think Jake Browning at least showed enough 2 years ago to be entertaining to be given a shot, and I'm surprised he signed that contract. I really am. Like, dude, you had a chance to go somewhere and really like try and be the guy, and now you've kind of derailed your own career because you're just gonna be a backup for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and there's a few quarterbacks out there still haven't signed out there, and one of the interesting ones was it's too bad Alex isn't here because we know his love for Trey Lance when he was drafted, but and really only the Niners could do that, right? Leverage the farm to move up to number 3, to take that, to then not even have that guy really play for you and move on to a Mr. Irrelevant as your franchise quarterback and not skip a beat there, right? Like,
Right.
But most teams that's a move that takes 5-6 years to try and recover from, and they didn't seem to matter. But yeah, I'm right there with you, right? Like, I don't understand the allure of the Russ on this one. You're right. He may not turn the ball over that much, but all those sacks that he takes, those are just drive killers. Absolute drive killers.
And in New York, they've been dealing with that, right? Wasn't part of it. I mean, everybody got after Daniel Jones because they thought he was seeing ghosts. That offensive line was so bad.
Right.
Like, Jones was getting smoked. I mean, and now you're putting a smaller, slower,
less mobile at this
less
point.
Agile quarterback there who you're hoping just processes things faster.
Right. When that hasn't. But Russ's problem is he hangs on the ball so long trying to wheel something open that doesn't end up coming open.
Yeah. So. Well, we'll see. I'm not a believer, but we'll see.
Right. And Scott did let us know that at the fantasy league draft depends on the scoring format, and he was saying that he was basing that off of the title of the show. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yes.
I'm with you now because we are going to get into a way too early fantasy mock draft here in just a moment and have some fun with that. Jamie saying that they're not a big Trey Lance fan, but let's talk Mac Jones finally in that offense.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure Mac Jones is going to be the answer either, but it definitely wasn't Trey Lance. 2 out of the 3 of us were dead set on that to begin with. Alex had his flag planted, and he was just came up short on that one. That's all good.
right.
We've all been there.
Right. Scott saying Trey Lance is going to play in Canada. Apparently, why not go to Pittsburgh first? Got to get a contract somewhere.
Because even Mike Tomlin realized he couldn't fix that.
Oh, that's that's interesting. So, oh, that's funny. Alrighty. So, any other news notes, any other thoughts you want to hit up before we start getting into the mock draft here?
I mean, not tangible news, right? We're kind of still waiting to see what, if anything, happens with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, what teams want to do with the draft. I don't know. The Minnesota Vikings are dead set that JJ McCarthy's our guy. I don't understand why, but that's okay. They'll figure it out.
Right. Scott saying, how long do they wait on Rodgers?
As long as they can.
Right. So
you have no other option. So you just keep waiting. Send them flowers.
right. We're just waiting on an answer.
Yeah,
right.
or whatever homeopathic medicine he's using this week.
Right. So I mean, maybe I've heard that I've heard some former Steelers players saying that the facilities aren't that great. Maybe they've got a really dark room that they closet or something they can shut the door on, have a little darkness retreat there. You never know. Maybe that's the thing that carries it home.
Right.
So, alrighty. Any other thoughts on anything we want to hit up before we start jumping into the mock draft here?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Tell you what, the Jamie, Scott, one of these episodes coming up when we do a mock draft, we'll have you guys hop in here and you can do a mock draft with us if you want to. Send over the sleeper handles over to one of the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those places, and we'll see if we can't get y'all in on a mock draft one of these days coming up here. So, alrighty. Yeah. So I see these guys constantly in the chat, and so be kind of fun to mix it up with them in a mock draft here. So
yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and start hopping in here and get that going. There we go. That's the ticket right there. Okay. So we're going to do this pretty straightforward, pretty simplistic on this. It's a single quarterback league, half point PPR. The roster positions are as followed. The 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and I just lost it here. And a flex, I believe. Just trying to, there it is. 2 flexes and 4 bench spots. Thank you. Alrighty. So we're going to rock and roll through that. Kevin is drafting at the 3 hole and I am drafting at the 10 hole. So we're good halfway across the draft from each other. So should be fun. And we're going to go ahead and get rocking and rolling into this one. And
all right. So full disclaimer here as we're going through this sleeper mock. They have not updated the ADP yet. So as the computer picks, we understand that things are going to be a little goofy, but directionally, you guys will get the idea here. So Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey went off the board. Christian McCaffrey will still be a first-round pick. Tyreek, I'm not so sure about. I think he's probably going to be a later second-round pick here coming up in 2025. But nevertheless, it comes down to when you're drafting this at the top end, like Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, are guys, who are going to be going at the top here. Bijan obviously be going at the top, Justin Jefferson. So, those are guys when you're looking at the first 4 or 5 picks that you're really trying to soak up and stash away. So for the sake of this, let's say Saquon and Jamar Chase went 1 and 2, like I'm kind of rolling through in my head, or Saquon and Justin Jefferson, sorry. So then Chase falls to me. So I'm going to grab Chase here as best receiver on the board for this season and see how that shakes out.
Okay, awesome. I like it. So you're rocking and rolling through it. After Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown goes, Justin Jefferson goes, CeeDee Lamb goes, Bijan Robinson goes, Jahmyr Gibbs goes, then A.J. Brown goes. And that puts me on the clock here at number 8. And certainly some very interesting ways that I could rock and roll with this one. And even though I believe we probably have seen this player have the career year that they'll have and probably not reach those heights again, I'm still going to go with the running back with Saquon Barkley right here. After that, a string of running back goes in which Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, Jonathan Taylor goes. And that puts me back on the clock here. And, can certainly have some very interesting ways to maneuver this. With the, with this thing, we're starting to get down into some of the running backs here. And I don't know that I necessarily want to wait on that one, just from the standpoint of what may fall back to me on this one. I do really like several of the wide receivers here and really would like to go that route, but Derrick Henry is calling my name.
No, I like that. That's a brutal 1-2 combo. All right, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Puka, Josh Allen went super early, which again, computers. Devontae Adams, Drake London. So coming back over to me, really looking into what this season has to offer. I could kind of go one of 2 ways for the skill position, right? Like I'm looking at Devon Achane, possibly Josh Jacobs if I'm chasing running back, but I think I'm going to wait on that a little bit. And a guy that is further down the ADP list, but I really like here coming up this season is I'm going to pair Jamar Chase with Nico Collins because I think that'll do some damage here at the top end of my wide receiver ranks. After that, Chris Olave, Achane, Ayuk, Jacobs. Okay, great. So those guys are off the board. Here we are. We're kind of floating through some things. I could go quarterback if I wanted to go early. Jalen Hurts is still sitting there. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's still out there. It has Mahomes listed up that high. I'm not drafting Mahomes that high in any league. We've learned our lesson there. It's just he's not driving the ball down the field. They're not putting up 35, 40 points a game anymore. So they've kind of settled into what they are. Maybe they change a little bit as they get a little bit younger, get Rashee Rice back, and Xavier Worthy takes another step forward. See if they can get some of that downhill presence back with them here. But at the moment, that is not there. So that leaves me, I really kind of want to go Mike Evans here and just absolutely pound my yardage and touchdowns. I mean, that would give me 3 basically 1,000-yard receivers and the potential for double-digit touchdowns out of all 3. So, 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, if that's what you gave me between those 3 guys, I'd be pretty happy with that, right? So I think I'm going to do that. We're going to get Mike Evans one more. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to let him fall or break his streak. So I'm going to just go super wide receiver heavy here to start.
Okay, I like it. That was one that I was hoping may fall back to me. Was Mike Evans? I didn't think it would, but I was hopeful. Right after Mike Evans goes Sam Laporta, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashad White, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Travis Kelce, and we're in the third round now. I've already got the pairing of Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry to start that off with a 1-2 running back punch, and really kind of looking at what this is going to look like moving forward. Yeah, could certainly go with a Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, something like that to try and pair that up and get that going with the quarterback and try and get that positional advantage there. However, we're in a single QB league. I'm going to be waiting well into the draft before I even think about taking a quarterback here. So that leaves me with the point of, where do I want to turn and where do I want to go with a most likely a wide receiver. There's still some good running backs out there, right? James Cook is out there, Joe Mixon out there. Honestly, had Russell Wilson not been the signing at quarterback in New York, I'd probably be taking Malik Neighbors right here. But as it is, he is the quarterback, and I don't necessarily trust that. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think will continue to have a pretty good outcome there. I'm going to take DJ Moore right here. Alrighty, after DJ Moore, Jalen Hurts comes off the board, Jalen Waddle comes off the board, Joe Mixon, James Cook puts it back on me. And at this point, right, I've got the two running backs. I've got DJ Moore as a wide receiver. Probably need to look at at taking another wide receiver here. And a guy that I'm going to take here is going to be one that at this point is a little bit further down the draft boards. But Terry McLaurin is sitting out there and was certainly the wide receiver 1 for Washington last year. The chemistry is definitely there between him and Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go ahead and take that move right there.
Right on. So Neighbors goes, then Lamar, Trey McBride, Devonta Smith, Patrick Mahomes, Cooper Kupp. Man, I am still so chalked up with receivers that I'm just loving what's here. Guy who is probably gone already in the real 2025 draft. So I don't know if I want to sink my teeth into him, but I'm really looking at Brian Thomas Jr. right here. I don't think he's going to be there in most drafts, so I'm trying to kind of pivot the strategy away from that. And I think that's probably what I'm going to do here, just for the sake of putting together a realistic team, if you will. So I'm going to pivot over, and I am going to grab Kenneth Walker here to be my first running back. Mark Andrews, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, CJ Stroud. Whoa, was that a miss from last year? And then it's back at me. So a couple different things. We have Michael Pittman. Man, we kind of learned our lesson with that last year because quarterback position is a little iffy. And then Dalton Kincaid, again, another guy who burned us last year with Buffalo. Zay Flowers, that has some intrigue. He was better than what we thought. T. Higgins. I don't know. There's something about this that I kind of want to pair up T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but again, I think I'm going to fade that here just a little bit. But what I am going to do is I'm looking at running back. I'm going to grab this a bit early, but I think there's a lot of usage here as a solid number 2 who's going to get a ton of goal line work. and I'm going to grab David Montgomery as my number 2 back right here.
Okay. Solid pick there. That leaves Aaron Jones off the board, Dalton Kincaid, Tank Dell, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers coming off the board right after that. And that puts me on the clock, right? I've got so far a team of Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin. And I feel pretty good about where this roster is sitting. Certainly could start looking at some other options there, but there's a couple of guys a little bit further down the draft board at this point that I am really kind of liking at where the potential is for that. And one of the guys that I'm going to take right here, even though he's coming off of an injury, is Chris Godwin.
I love me some Godwin.
All right. And then after Godwin, it's Amari Cooper, George Pickens, Anthony Richardson, George Kittle comes off the board. And it's back to me. So far, I've got 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and I'm back on the clock here. And, one of the other guys that I sat there was really considering taking instead of Chris Godwin is still there. And I'm going to take Rashee Rice.
I like that a lot. Why is he not pulling up?
Who's that?
Lad McConkey.
I don't know.
I know why he's not pulling up. Okay. So after Rice, James Conner, Kyle Pitts, Keenan Allen, Ramondre, Samir White, Raheem Mostert, way early. Back to the well here a little bit. I'm going to start filling up with some volume guys. Lad McConkey came on huge at the end of last year. Very, very consistent. And him and Justin Herbert really seem to kind of figure each other out. So I'm grabbing Lad right here. Najee Harris, Roma Dunze, Christian Kirk kind of follow that up. And so now I'm looking here. Round 7, kind of where things shake out and what am I feeling about life. Screw it. I'm going to grab me some Georgia boys, just back-to-back rounds. Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers, part of the back-to-back natty teams.
There you go. Then Xavier Worthy, Tony Pollard, Evan Ingram, DeAndre Swift, Calvin Ridley, Kyler Murray come off the board next. And that puts me back on the clock here. And certainly could look at going a few different routes here. They were starting to kind of get into that realm of where to go, what to look at this point in time. Though I'm really kind of kicking the can on down the road when it comes to tight end still. There's some quarterbacks available. I'm okay kicking the can down the road on that one again. So really kind of focused in here heavily on running back and wide receivers through these rounds here, and really kind of seeing what that comes to play with. And at that point, there's still quite a few guys out here that I think can be, some pretty good depth pieces, and certainly could be, definitely running back 2, at worst case, running back 3 for you. And so one of the guys out there that's still has their name out there in the running back world is Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to go ahead and take Chuba Hubbard here with this pick.
I like that.
After that, it's Jaden Reed, Nick Chubb, Jordan Addison, Zach Moss, and that puts me back on the clock here. And so far, this team makeup has 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and I'm going to go ahead and just round this thing out with running backs. And Chase Brown still on the board, and I like that one a lot. But another guy that's still out there that at this point is only out there because this is ADP hasn't updated, is Bucky Irving, and that's who I'm going to take there.
No, I like that. So since you're grabbing Bucky, I'm grabbing Chase. After Bucky, Brooks, Williams, Prescott, Deontay, Singletary, Jordan Love, then Chase, Jalen Warren, Ferguson, Hollywood, Christian Watson. Back to me. Okay, so Realistically, we would have rookies who would have been flying off the board here already, right? Like, again, tis what it is. But we got some guys sitting around here, and this guy is poised to have a massive year coming up. Last year we saw the start of the breakout. I think it truly ascends this year, and I'm talking about Mr. Jackson Smith in Jigba.
I like it. That was one I was certainly looking at on the way back. After JSN goes, and it's Austin Eckler, Brock Purdy, David Njoku, DeAndre Hopkins, Keon Coleman, Brian Robinson, and that puts me back on the clock here. And yeah, certainly lots of options to rock and roll through here. But yeah, a guy that had a very stellar rookie season last year, and a team that, quite frankly, is saw a lot of competition for him and targets leave during this offseason, right? I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. After that one, Jared Goff, Dallas Goedert, Gus Edwards, Tajay Spears go. Kind of following up on that Brian Thomas Jr. pick, right? Christian Kirk no longer in town to compete with targets. Evan Ingram no longer in town. Those were some of the guys that really coming into last season thought were going to be well ahead of him on the depth chart and how that team was going to play out there. But he certainly kind of cemented his role there, and I really like the way that came to play. So that puts me back on the clock. We're now in the 10th round. We've got 3 rounds left, or 3 picks left for me anyway. And at this point, I'm okay looking at quarterback here. And there's one that really intrigues me, a guy that had a top 5 quarterback finish last year, the rookie Jaden Daniels, of course, and that's where I'm going here.
You and I think too much alike. All right, Caleb Williams, then Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Tua Tagovailoa, Jerome Ford, Zeke went. All right, so my top quarterback selection went off the board, so now I'm just going to punt and see kind of what comes from all that. So
I'm willing to bet you the guy that you've now got your eye on is still up there in about round 12.
Oh, I think so. All right, so again, high octane offense. Really started to see the breakout last year as this player developed his route tree. I'm continuing to just hammer into these wide receivers, right? I only have 3 running backs here. I'm in round 10. I'm going to stick with 3 here so far because I'm going to grab Jameson Williams out of Detroit, get me some more big play ability here for these flex spots and being able to really play matchups there. So I like that a lot. And then coming back here in the 11th. So what I would really like to do is try and find myself some type of running back. And this is not going to be a super sexy pick. And in fact, I'm going to go against many, many things that I've ever said on this show. But I am going to grab Tank Bigsby because he did carry the workload, or at least split the workload for Jacksonville down the stretch there. So I'm going to grab him just as kind of an insurance policy guy. If I have to throw a random running back in, he'll be my guy, and I know he's going to see touches.
Fair enough. After Tank Bigsby, then it's Tyler Lockett, TJ Hawkinson, Khalil Shakir, Justin Herbert, Pat Freiermuth, Zach Charbonnet. And that leaves me back here on the clock. I feel really good about my roster and my depth around running backs, wide receivers. Feel really good about the quarterback pick. Was kind of hoping that I could see TJ Hawkinson fall into this kind of range. Was not meant to be. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take a guy that we saw some flashes last year. Wasn't necessarily big time things throughout the entirety of the season, and really took the depleted receiving core. But when he did come in, he definitely had some flashes, and I'm going to go ahead and take my punted tight end pick of Cade Otton here. Alrighty. After that, it's Adonai Mitchell, Trevor Lawrence, Mike Williams, and J.K. Dobbins. Interesting enough, Team 11 took J.K. Dobbins, who has yet to sign with the team, but yeah, they're taking a guy out there waiting for a job to come in. So good for them. This one here, I'm going to take my last pick simply as a guy that I'm going to take because he's still there. The hype is all over the place for this guy. You and I are both in alignment that I think there's better prospects out there. So I'm taking this guy to simply take him because he's there and use him as trade bait before week 1 actually kicks off here. And that is the rookie Ashton Genty.
One rookie finally made it. Cole Kmet, Jacoby Myers, Rico Dowdle, Josh Palmer, Jerry Jeudy. I like that Jerry Jeudy pick by Team 5 here in round 12. That could be really interesting. Xavier Legette. All right, I need a quarterback, and I am quite frankly, I am torn between two guys here right now. And who I'm kind of torn in between is Baker Mayfield and Bo Nix. I like what Baker's been able to do in Tampa Bay each of the last 2 years, but I like the youth of what Bo showed in Denver and his ability to use his legs and get some of those extra those cheat yards, right? Those bonus yards. And so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lean Bo Nix in the second year under Sean Payton, his second year in the league, looking for that step, right, and kind of ascend. He finished just inside the top 12 last year, or just inside the top 10 last year, one or the other. Him and Baker were really close to each other, but I am going to take the youth because of his legs and hope that kind of carries me out just a little bit more, but this is really a coin flip. So I'm going with the homer pick for now, and we'll see how that adjusts as we get closer into August when real draft season heads around. But Bo Nix is going to be my QB1 here to start.
Okay. Yeah, and Baker was the guy that I certainly had kind of pegged for you, right? Like I thought that was going to be the route that you were gonna roll there, and that was the guy that I was alluding to earlier when Jaden Daniels had come off the board and you were talking about that one. So, but the Bo Nix pick definitely like there, and you can certainly see some good things to finish off the draft. You saw Rashid Shaheed and Kirk Cousins come off the board there. So, any thoughts about this draft and kind of how the teams went about it?
I mean, it's always interesting when things are getting shook out here. Now, I tell you one team that I think you could really find some interesting things with is Team 7, right? They started with Bijan, came back with Puka. Diggs in the third is probably a little bit early because of the knee injury, but when he is healthy, he is going to see a ton of targets from Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to see a ton of targets from Drake May. So maybe not as explosive as we've seen him, but we should see him with a lot of volume. So that'll keep him happy. So I don't mind that. Trey McBride, arguably the best tight end coming off the board there in round 4. Pittman, Allen, a little interesting not having signed. Swift, okay. So I don't mind this team. Dak as a quarterback. Justin Herbert to back him up in case Dak gets injured again, right? Neither one of those quarterbacks are playing every single game. They get nicked up a little bit. So I like that. And I even like Trey Benson, right? Is this where we start to see the resurgence of Trey Benson and we see James Conner come back to life a little bit? So I actually don't mind Team 7. Let's see who else is out there.
Team 11 got off to a very interesting start, right?
Paul, Taylor, Hurts, and Cook. Yeah, I mean,
and then they lost it for me in round 5.
Yeah, Cooper, Kittle in 6 isn't terrible. I don't mind that. Jaden Reed was so frustrating for me last year. I really thought he was going to be the answer, and then just kind of fell flat on his face. I don't think they needed a second quarterback with having Hurts, but they picked up Goff. So it's a little interesting for sure. But overall, I think the AI does what the AI does, right? And this is what happens when we have the platform that doesn't update their ADPs in the offseason like they should. It's probably the biggest downfall of this platform. But other than that, I like the teams you and I put together. I mean, I think both of us would happily go to battle with those as our rosters week in and week out, and let the chips fall where they will. So I might be a little light on the running back side, but I have enough wide receiver depth. I feel like I could have a good flip, right? I could flip a Mike Evans or Lad McConkey or JSN for a decent running back, right? And kind of see what that looks like, whether it's a Josh Jacobs or maybe a Bucky Irving, right? If Godwin and Rice don't come back from injury quite as fast as what you want, maybe I can help you out and you can help me, and we can do a little parlay there in some way. So there's options there, but I'm happy with the team. I feel like I have, a little bit of mix between like youth ascending and like full on prime, and then definitely with Mike Evans, a little bit of senior citizenship on this team, but for the most part, Mike Evans and David Montgomery are the old dogs, and everybody else is still fairly young.
Yeah. No, I feel really good about my roster. The one thing that I feel like with this roster that I've got, right? Like I've got the set it and forget it running backs, right? 1, 2, lock down, move on. And I can even plug and chug the my other 2 running backs into my flex positions and just call it a day there, right? But the thing that with this roster that I think is going to be an interesting deal and going to be a little bit trying is really kind of seeing, right, with Godwin coming back from injury, what does he look like when he comes back? Same thing with Rashee Rice coming back from injury. What does he look like? What is, some of the other things that are still looming out there look like? But I do feel a little bit like this roster of mine is going to be one that it's going to take some dialing in and really kind of letting the chips fall where they may when it comes to that wide receiver position. That there's certainly the depth and the talent there, but it's not necessarily clear cut on how that to shape that out week in, week out. And it may be a little bit of musical chairs dialing that thing in or making some moves from here. But at least this roster is set up to a point where there's enough depth and there's enough star power that you can move off and you can flip somebody to get a set it and forget it wide receiver 1. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, every other one of these, it would be interesting to see what how these picks would have been different without the ADP as it currently is, right? Because there's no way that Jaden Daniels is going to last into the 10th round, even in a single QB league this year, right? Like zero chance to that one.
You're looking 5th, 6th at best.
Right. So
in most cases, he's probably going to go higher.
Right. So yeah, very interesting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how some of these things play out here and some of that. But any other thoughts on any of these other draft picks?
No, it's a fun exercise, right? I mean, again, we drafted one rookie, and that was just on principle. I mean, so it all, this is why we don't do it before, or you don't typically include rookies until after the draft, right? Like, there's no guarantee on where these guys are going to land. We saw it with, we've seen it with wide receivers in years past, right? We think, okay, this is going to be a great NFL prospect. This is the guy. And then he goes to a team where, they just bury him because they don't run the ball, right? Rashad Bateman coming out of college, most people thought he was just going to be a really solid pro, and then got buried in Baltimore. And it took him until basically the back third of last year to really be relevant in that offense.
Right.
Because Baltimore, until recently, has not cared about throwing the ball as much. Obviously, it's a little bit different now than what it was 3 years ago. The last 2 seasons have been a bit better, and Bateman's had some injuries of his own that he's been fighting. But, we're slowly kind of starting to see some of that emergence. But, there's some guys on here that are just way too high, right? Christian Kirk way too high. Tyreek Hill's not going 1-1. Christian Watson in most cases isn't going to go drafted because of last year. Cortland Sutton will probably be higher than the 10th round because he had a really good year there in Denver. And so it'll balance itself out as we get closer. But it's a fun exercise just to kind of see what could be, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's and we'll have a few more of these you're rock and rolling as we continue drawing in closer to the season. And yet I actually like the this thought here that Scott had for us is this an auction draft? And that could be a fun thought there down the road is right. We I don't think we've ever mocked an auction draft live before. So that could be a fun exercise that we can try, potentially later on down the this off season and see how that shakes out. And a lot of folks, it's definitely auction drafts are a mystery to a lot of folks and a lot of questions and your concerns around that. So that could be a fun exercise here down the road as well. So
we'll have to make sure we have all three of us for that one. Alex actually does very well in auction drafts.
Yep.
I know at times he kind of belittles himself a little bit in some of the snake drafts as not the resident draft expert, but being in auction drafts with Alex, his strategy works pretty well. And a lot of those have been like guillotine leagues where you auction off the first. And Alex does a great job surviving the first 3, 4, 5 weeks until you get some big name players that are dropping, and then he makes a move where he needs to. But he's a very good auction drafter, and I dare say he might be the best of the three of us. And that it's just not a realm that I play in a ton. So it's always good to try and sharpen up and be better at something. So I'd be all about that. I think that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I have. That's something that I've spent a fair bit of time over the last couple of seasons, kind of honing my skills in is in the auction draft strategy. Did pretty well this last season, right? I had I think I had 3 leagues that were auction drafts. Ended up winning 2 of them. So we'll see how we can kind of keep that ball rolling and. But definitely is a very different world out there, and I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely watched what I've seen Alex do in some of our things and what he's kind of done there, and I definitely implemented a few of those strategies going into this season. So kudos to just jumping on the bandwagon. To kudos to Alex on that one. So we got to do this, of course, when he's not here because can't be letting him blush on air. So.
Right. Yeah, can't pump them up too much.
So, all righty. Well, any other thoughts? Anything else we want to chat up before we call it a night?
None that I can really think of. It's not that it's a dead period, but there's so many other things going on that the NFL is not like the clear leader in the clubhouse as far as the sports entertainment world here at the moment.
Right.
But their time will come. They'll start ramping up draft coverage and prospect coverage and everything else, and they'll work their way back up here. But right now, they're just kind of chugging along. College basketball's doing its thing. Obviously, hockey and the NBA are down the home stretch doing theirs, and baseball's getting ready to ramp up. So get your popcorn. It's a great time. It's a great time to enjoy sports if you don't have things to do.
Right. On the Masters is very quickly approaching as well. So those that follow the goof. So, all righty. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight, and do appreciate everybody tuning in, chiming in. Any last words?
Thank you for everyone tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and then you can always find us at your social media preference at Good Old Boys FF.
All righty. That's going to do it for us tonight. Scott, Jamie, make sure that you guys send me over your sleeper handles on the through any of those socials that Kevin just talked about, and we'll we'll get a draft coming up here where we can have you guys hop in and draft with us if you'd like. But that's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. We'll see Alex again, hopefully next week. And next week, we're going to really start getting into the draft side of things there as well for the NFL draft. And but it'll be a lot of fun. Have a good night. Be safe. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. I don't remember if I said that, but have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.